They're so great.
Yeah.
And over the next few weeks, over 500,000 of you guys at home will be playing on our open qualifiers to move on to nights like tonight, the Coronation
That's
Days.
right.
And from the Coronation Days, 16 people will be moving on to the arena battles,
Yeah.
and 8 will be moving on to the crown duels from there, where one lucky, amazing, talented winner will
The
take
best.
home $15,000 from a $100,000 prize pool and a trip to Supercell HQ, baby.
That's right, guys. That is what all these players are playing for, and already over 150,000 of you guys at home have gone through open qualifiers to make it to today. Events like today, the Coronation Days. This is Coronation Day number 5. Let's go ahead and take a look at what those players are playing for. First place today, taking home $2,000. Second place, $500. Third and fourth, $300. And fifth through eighth, $100 each. Again, every single Coronation Day broadcast, we are giving out another $2,000, another ticket to move on. It could be you guys. But tonight, we have a new top 8 for you. Before we get into see who those are, let's quickly go over the rules of the duels here at the Clash Royale North American Open. We run the standard tournament cap with the double deck format. Each player submits 2 unique decks to us, and by unique we mean at least 4 cards different. And to move on, it's very simple. You just gotta beat your opponent with both of your decks before they beat you with theirs, and boom, you're one step closer to glory, the top $2,000, and potentially 15 grand, and moving on to go see where Supercell is. Now, let's take a look at who those top 8 players are for today. Up first, we have Ash versus the Killer Whale.
Then we have G-Sam versus Trainer Garret.
Third, Marcus35 versus Boom.
And finally, Naruto Uzumaki versus Clyde.
That is right, guys. This is the top 8 players right now in the Clash Royale North American Opens. These are the top 8 players right now in Clash Royale history ever. So, before we get into those, let's go over to the couch where we are not by ourselves, as you guys might know at home. We are
Lava Hound has your favorite Inferno Dragon hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see what they open with.
100% win rate on both these guys, Rainey.
Yeah, means that making
That's
it up to
awesome.
this top 8, they have not dropped a single match. 2-0 all the way through.
Not just a match, a game.
Yeah, a
They
game.
literally 2-0'd everyone up to this point. Someone is going to lose their first game of the day.
Who's gonna lose it?
I really like this Tombstone into Furnace because, you know, Tombstone costs 1 less than Furnace, and if they just sit here and inevitably just throw their spawns into each other, making no progress, that's got to be an advantage for the Tombstone player.
All right. Golem versus Lava Hound, the 2 tanks that are most like each other, the air version and the ground version. Golem ambles its way towards the Tombstone, but no supporting units are actually being played behind that Golem, and I think that that might end up making this Golem push pretty ineffectual, and it actually leaves there's a big lighting. That's going to change the tide of the whole thing. Actually, I feel like that went way better for Garret than it did for G-Sam.
What is that?
And just like that, they're almost back to even elixir, a slight 1 elixir advantage for Trainer Garret. And he's got a damage lead so far, so I would say that initial exchange went slightly better, although it's anyone's game.
It's interesting that Trainer Garret did not...
Oh, wow.
Advantage Furnace.
Right there, at advantage.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to note that Garret chose to not drop any troops behind his Golem. The only support he gave his Golem was a lightning at the end, focused on defending first, and that ended up working out better for him.
I think both of them realized how much these pushes can snowball and opted to defend and learn from that and make the further pushes more effective. I really like putting Lava Hound in the same lane as Golem because Lava Hound's going to fly right over, allowing you to play your defense on top of the Golem, and then once the Golem dies, they just catch up to the Lava Hound.
There's the Inferno Dragon as the first line of defense for G-Sam, and that's a great choice against the Golem. Big lightning doesn't hit the Inferno Dragon, actually flies a little bit too far. Oops is the word that Trainer Garret decides to use, and uh-oh is the word that I would use for Trainer Garret. Here comes the Mega Minion and Lava Hound. Pups have expanded. There's a big lightning, and this is going to let the Pups connect. Huge damage coming on. Can we see it? I believe in the Inferno Dragon. No. Please, please, no, kill it. Oh, come on, buddy. The tower's right there, man.
We've all had the dream of watching an Inferno Tower 100% to 0% a tower. Hasn't quite happened yet. Actually, though, we've seen Trainer Garret missed G-Sam's Inferno Dragon. If you remember, we watched Backstab miss an Inferno Dragon 3 times with a zap in the last Coronation Day. It's very hard to hit. Aim for the shadow.
It's tough. It's a little bit chubby, but not as chubby as you would think it is.
You know, Inferno Dragon's mom thinks he's handsome, so I don't know if it's worth
Tombstone
like that.
and
So cute.
Inferno Dragon plus the Mega Minion to defend. There's a minor Lava Hound combo, and I really think, What's going on here?
Lightning
I think
for the win.
G-Sam might take it. I think he's already spent his lightning. He needs to cycle, but Trainer Garret needs to end the match now. I don't think he can do it before the 6 elixir, and G-Sam takes it. Man, I really think that there's a concept that really you need to come to terms with if you're playing at this level, is that oftentimes, if it gets to overtime, you need to change your style of play. You need to change your thinking because all-ins become very, very real. I think, and I don't want to get too in-depth about it, but the most obvious way to see this is when you're playing against a giant balloon player, you will feel the pressure of being in overtime. Because that giant balloon player, he can actually just push all in. He doesn't need to worry about defense. If his giant balloon makes it to your tower and kill it, you're done. That's exactly what happened there. G-Sam, I would argue, was actually behind all match long, ended up pushing all in with that last Lava Hound push, and he won the game.
Right. Just a reminder again, when you go in overtime in this game, it's just whoever takes the first tower. You don't have the 3 crown, it's just first one to go
That's
wins.
crazy. At one point, Garret didn't drop any troops down with his golem. Do you think he was doing that to kind of test the waters and see what G-Sam had to offer in his deck, or was it just a mistake?
I think you can do that, right? But it's so expensive. That's 8 elixir to get a little information, and that's kind of overpaying.
That's true.
Early in the game, dropping something like a Hog Rider and seeing what your opponent does, really good, because you find out what they're going to play against your Hog Rider, and then the next time you can back the Hog Rider up with stuff. But if you do something like play a Golem, and they drop an Inferno Tower and Inferno Dragon and kill it, you're behind 3 or 4 elixir just to find out that, hey, guess what, they have an Inferno Beam like every other deck that you're going to see, right?
So don't do that.
All right, G-Sam up 1-0 against Trainer Garret. If he wins this one, he moves on. Let's see if Trainer Garret can tie it up.
There it is. Now, according to the double deck rules, because G-Sam won with the first deck he submitted, that is the Lava Hound deck, he now has a swap up to his second deck, and as Rumham pointed out before the game, it's going to be 3 Musketeer, Ice Golem, probably some kind of 3 Musketeer mini tank deck, 2 Musketeers lock onto the tower. The log is going to stop any kind of further damage, but just look at how much damage they do in a short moment of time. The problem now is that G-Sam has to deal, Fire Spirits, has to deal with the Expo, and it's going to lock onto the right side tower.
Unfortunate for G-Sam, he does have Rocket in his deck, and we've seen how effective Rocket can be against these Expos, but it looks like he just didn't have it in that opening exchange.
Yes, kind of rationing out the elixir as well as having it in the cycle are 2 very difficult things to have right at the opening moments of the game. There's a moment to do it, if there's any. Misses it. Oh, no, he got greedy.
Oh, he misses.
No.
And just like that, I think Trainer Garret might be tying this one up. It's really going to be on G-Sam to take a tower because that one is gone.
Oh,
Wow.
no.
Now, the interesting thing to think about is, as opposed to Expo mirrors or Siege mirrors, G-Sam is not playing a Siege deck, right? So it's totally believable that he could make a comeback happen, but I think Trainer Garret is set on playing defensively enough that I would be surprised if it happened. But 3 Musketeers can work some magic.
3 Musketeers are definitely going to have a hard time against defensive Expos because they have to walk pretty slowly across. And like most decks, Trainer Garret is playing 2 spells in this, a Fireball and a Log, that are both pretty good against the doubled up Musketeers.
Yep, there we see the Fireball being employed, and I think the left side push is what Trainer Garret has to go with. Log is going to be coming through.
Very brave, I would say, of G-Sam to play this in a world where it's not unreasonable to play 3 spells in the same deck, and Lightning is super popular. It's really tough to commit 3 Musketeers to the board and get value for them.
And I think G-Sam is about to lose another tower.
Wow.
And this really, you have to wonder, I mean, G-Sam hasn't played his last card, and it's definitely not Zap at this point. But you really have to wonder.
G-Sam.
Oh, he's laughing about it. Yeah, this is brutal.
Yeah, and that just shows how punishing an Expo deck can be. If you make one mistake, one teeny little mistake, like rocketing the grass, you're done, right? Like that's you're done and over with. A single Expo is going to kill your tower and then sit there after for a while.
You know, these players at the level that we're playing at really, really want to gain as much value as they can for every single drop. But when you consider risk management, you know, is it really worth it that you rocketed that Ice Golem? You wanted to get both the Ice Golem and the Expo, which was the choice that G-Sam was trying to make. Is that really worth it to kill the Ice Golem?
Just go for the Expo.
Let the Ice Golem give your tower a hug. It's going to take, what, like 100 damage?
I don't know if
You know?
the new death damage is increasing.
Oh, yeah.
It might be 117 after, right now. You're right. I totally agree that he was a little greedy trying to get it. Who really cares about the Ice Golem that much? Don't miss your initial target.
Yes.
You see that happen a lot with Elixir Collector. People will try to rocket the Elixir Collector and then also hit something else around, and they end up hitting maybe the Musketeer, but missing the Elixir Collector, and that was what you cared
That
about.
was so brutal. Like when you make a mistake like that, how do you change your play style and come back from behind? That
Against
really
Expo?
hurt him.
Start praying. I mean, I think here's the thing. There's a lot of
DDoS.
decks that are more forgiving of mistakes. For example, we've seen a lot of these, bowler decks that each push they're maybe doing 500 damage, and they're trying to do that 5 times throughout the course of the game. They're going to win that way. But Expo, if you let one Expo lock onto your tower
done.
and you don't have a zap, you don't have a tower, you don't have anything to get rid of it, you're
happens.
going home. Thankfully, GSAM won game 1, so he's not going home. But we do have to go to a critical game 3.
So about these two decks, as we're going into the game right now, who do you think has a better matchup? Just purely based on cards.
I will always love Three Musketeers, but Rumham is absolutely right. When you run multiple spells as a standard in this meta, I really don't think Three Musketeers, you have to try really hard. I don't think it's impossible, but you do have to try incredibly hard.
I've got very bad news for GSAM fans out in the crowd. Trainer Garret is back to his Golem deck that he played earlier, and the Golem deck has Lightning.
Oh boy, didn't choose to use Lightning in this push, and the Miner will tank up for the Musketeer. Megamina gonna get a swing, mitigate some damage with 500 on the first Three Musketeer push, and one that we will probably never see ever again.
Great Ice Golem in the middle there, drew one Archer and the Mega Minion. That is, 4.5 Elixir worth of stuff that is dead because of a 2-cost Ice Golem.
Wow, value.
All right, game state back at neutral. Here comes the hippity hoppity fire spirits. Uh-oh. Where are we going? Oh, one made it.
That was 5 Elixir that didn't do much anything. I mean, the idea there was to absorb and pull the fire spirits towards the center, but because of the late summon, just because of the positioning,
One makes it every
one will
time.
make it.
There it is. Not worth it. I don't know. Rumham, you're gonna have to talk to me more about that one, but I really don't think that was worth it.
The answer there is basically he didn't want to attack at all. He knew that it was going to be unprofitable to attack. So you have the option of basically throwing away, 3 to 4 Elixir on an attack that goes nowhere, or just rocket their tower and at least make some progress towards it. At this point, he's going to draw the Lightning over the right side. That is 6 Elixir now that cannot back up the Golem, leaving the Musketeer and the Mega Minion free to slay that Golem and prevent damage to his tower. I think that rocket might end up being pretty smart because it let GSAM control the tempo of the game.
I think he's identified correctly. Simply amazing. I mean, GSAM, I think, made a decision that was very, very involved, kind of very educated. And I think he reaps the benefits for it. Mitigates damage from the first Golem push. But
That's
now
a
has
much
the...
better
Inferno
Tower.
Yeah, this Inferno Tower will at least get some kind of value. But it's interesting, too, because he basically had to defend that Golem push without an Inferno Tower. He's going to actually trade Golem drop with Rocket.
He's going to need a little more than 2 rockets, so it'll have to be the 2 rockets and, an arrows to maybe take it out. But he's going to have to...
Oh, he actually chooses to zap the 1 Musketeer rather than the 2 because he wants to go aggressive. Trainer Garret calling out GSAM right now. Do you have what it takes to defend this Golem? No!
Oh, the skeletons!
Oh, and the zap takes down the rest of them. And I think that Trainer Garret is going to earn the tower for it. No, 236, but he does have Lightning to close it out.
Slow.
He does need 1 big rocket, but the shield on the guards are going to block that area of attack. Ooh.
That's the toughest skeleton in town.
Yeah.
And now a Lightning will clear this game out right there for Trainer Garret.
Trainer Garret 2-1ing GSAM. He now is our second semifinalist. Moving on, he's joining Killer Whale. Going for that $2,000.
It's too bad. GSAM, I think, of all the people who brought decks today, his was the most innovative, the most brave in a lot of ways. We don't see a lot of Three Musketeers, even dedicated Three Musketeer
What happens
players.
to bravery here?
Yeah. No, but seriously, I mean, not a lot of people are bringing Three Musketeers because of all the spells, and you're seeing why his Three Musketeers deck failed to close it out against all of these spell decks. And the Inferno Dragon, really cool. That deck actually hasn't lost at all today.
You're right.
You're right, because he 2-0'd everybody and he won his first game. So if he could figure out another way, bring
He's
that in,
good.
that'd be good. But until then,
Nope. Oh man, it's so
Bye.
sad. What a sad thing to do. All right, let's go to now our reverse replay between the match that we guys just saw between Trainer Garret and G-Sam Rainey. Walk me through what's going on.
This is a big reason why you have to prioritize your targets with Rocket. It's got a small area of attack, and if you miss what you're aiming for, you get dunky-dunked. I mean, look at that. That tower is
That
actually
hurt.
getting demolished.
That's a dunky dunk if I've ever seen one.
That's a dunky-dunk.
Yeah.
That's done. It's a done deal. 1 crown to 0. Easy life for Trainer Garret.
And in this one, you're just seeing how at one point, and we actually talked about this, as the game gets closer, it becomes more about taking the first tower as opposed to the most total damage. He's normally been lightning the right side, instead opted to lightning the left side in order to clear out the defense against the golem, take that tower, and then at that point, you just have to survive another 10 seconds or so in order to win the game.
All right, well, there we go.
Congrats.
Congratulations again for Trainer
Congrats.
Garret. Moving on. Before we go into our third round of 8 battle, let's go ahead and pull up the brackets so we can kind of get a little quick update from you
That
guys. If
bracket.
you're just now tuning in to see what's been going on here. We've got Killer Whale moving on, as well as Trainer Garret. These guys are going to be the semifinalists. Marcus, 35, and Boom is coming up next. But so far, quick kind of recap of the day. Past 2 matches.
2-0. Killer Whale begins to demonstrate why he is such a great player in this game, and I think that he's very confident. The thing that interests me is so far we've seen multiple Expo decks, despite the fact that in the last Coronation Day we saw Expo get demolished by Royal Giant. I am incredibly surprised that people are not moving off of the Expo deck because I feel like
Yes.
That's some high-quality Clash Royale play. When you hit Arena 8, when you hit Frozen Peak, and you have all the cards available to you, what are you going to build?
Oh man. I think I'm gonna definitely throw some lumberjack in there because he impressed me today. It's those guys who really stand out from the crowd, you know.
All men with beards, respectable.
In.
Every
Yes,
single
all
one.
of the cards.
I
you
will
choose.
never be a respectful man.
yeah.
'Cause I can't.
Me too.
It's okay.
Don't worry, Christian.
That's why we're on the same couch. Woo.
Yeah, that's why we're on the same couch.
On the bonus side, you have hair on top of your head.
It just shifts.
A different place to have it, for sure. So here comes the golem down the right side, and it didn't pull towards the furnace because the furnace was placed 1 tile over to the left, and that means just out of range for the golem's sight.
Was that a mistake? Was that on purpose?
Well, I think he played the furnace before the golem came down, so at the very start of the game when they're both going up to 10, Free Willy goes ahead and
Garret chooses where
drops
it wants to go.
furnace going left, yeah. Oh, I think that Royal Giant can reach all the way there. That is
Oh,
the
look at that.
danger.
Wow.
Royal Giant must be a great guy. Look at his beard.
Yeah, respect.
And he has hair on top of his head.
He's got a crown, little crown too, because that's the king.
All this time we've been casting together, Rumham, I thought you were wearing a bald wig. I didn't know you were actually bald.
When we first started casting, I think I had hair. That's how long ago it was. True story.
What casting clash does.
Then you
Oh,
came
no.
one day and you were bald. I was like, that's a
Expressive
wig.
of Clash
This is the new
Royale.
person, yeah. Hey, shout out, by the way, to Supercell for providing us a high-definition tournament client to watch these games. This is so high definition, I can actually see things I haven't
I
seen
know,
before.
it's amazing.
Like the crown on the Royal
Yeah.
Giant's
It's
head.
so great.
Beautiful.
Okay, so we've got Golem. Oh, wow. I love these little cheap troops that are so great at backing up.
Oh, Archer
the
doesn't get
Golem.
taken down by arrows. Look at it. It's still walking strong. Which health
barely
point
out of
matters the
range.
most? Oh, get lightning.
Yeah, ooh, you.
Bad fate. Maybe would have rather died to the log. Actually, those both sound pretty brutal. Lightning strike or log.
Underrated part of the Golem is that the explosion damage, whenever a Golem or Golemite dies, there's a little bit of an explosion happening. That explosion did about half of the damage that the Golem actually did to the tower. It did really as much as the Golemites did with their normal attacks.
Yeah, and that's really big. It makes it to the tower. Big lightning gonna get it a swing, and here comes the death damage. Oh my god.
Wow. Trainer Garret takes it down. Uses a furnace on the other side. I think Killer Whale knows this game is over, and it's just we're gonna sit this one out for the next 15 seconds. Or no, he's actually gonna go try and tie it up.
Whoa.
I
Okay.
do feel like Trainer Garret, if he can defend this push, will have a rock solid hold on this match. Big lightning gonna take down the furnace. And Royal Giant gets a shot off, but with 3 seconds remaining, he really needed that Royal Giant to survive with much more health.
Well, there we go. Killer Whale picking up the first victory. Oh, sorry, Trainer Garret picking the first victory against Killer Whale there. One step closer to the finals.
So what's interesting is that neither... Man, she's played this game too much already. I can't.
Yeah, you're becoming a meme
becoming-
lord like the rest of us.
When I first met her, she was so nice, and now she's just When I see her down the hallway, she goes, her, and I go, oh no.
Video games, the devil's temptation. Moving on to game 2. Well, here's the thing. Trainer Garrett's golem deck, out of the match.
Yeah.
They both play their big body decks.
You're right, and I think that it was probably incorrect of Killer Whale to start off with his Royal Giant deck, but he's gonna get the benefit for it now because it's gonna be Royal Giant or Expo against Trainer Garrett's Expo deck. I think the best thing Garret could hope for is the Expo deck because you're more likely to win an Expo mirror than you are to win against a Royal Giant with Expo.
Okay. So we saw Golem in that match, or in that game. What are the best cheap troops to back up a Golem?
Well, you can see Trainer Garrett's packing archers, guards, Mega Minion. All of them have something in common. They cost 3 troops for less than 3 elixir, and that allowed him to get not just the golem out, but quickly support it with a variety of different stuff. Mega Minion flies, kind of tough. Archers, ranged attackers. Guards take a lot of hits to get them off the board. There are 3 very different sort of supporting troops that necessitate, and whatever. Let's not try hard words.
No.
Simple. Very different responses. You saw Killer Whale respond well with logging the shields off of the guards and then arrowing it all, trying to clean it up, but it's tough.
Get
It's tough.
some variety in there.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, Trainer Garret one more game away from moving on to the finals. One step closer to $2,000. Let's see what Killer Whale can do to stop that. To thwart
Very
that.
good response to the Expo. Drops the furnace to make sure that there will always be a health pool in front of the tower to stop that Expo from locking on and doing big damage.
And it looks like Trainer Garret won the coin flip in the sense that he started with an Expo, and there is no Royal Giant to be found in Killer Whale's deck. So this first Expo is going to be deadly.
Oh no, he
Too
played the Royal
late.
Giant a little bit too late, but still, Expo's doing 0 damage to the Royal Giant, and now you have to deal with a big Royal Giant walking across the river.
Trainer Garret just has to stop this and then immediately drop another Expo, and there is not going to be a Royal Giant in Killer Whale's hand to stop it.
That ice.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
good call
interesting.
out, man.
Needs to play the furnace now. No.
Oh, good lightning, but still going to eat a bunch of damage from that pretty high health Expo.
He locked?
Oh.
Yeah, needs to lower the health on it
Yeah.
to make sure it doesn't do a lot of damage.
You can think about that as spending 2 elixir to prevent about 500 on you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, he does a little bit of chip damage on the opponent's
let me-
tower, but more importantly is getting that Expo off the board.
Let me change my tone real quick then. He logs it. Nice.
Nice, yeah, oh yeah. Intent is a tone is everything.
That's right. That is right.
I like splitting the archers there, but I think he might have rather had them both on the same side, but
Oh, interesting.
Royal Giant's pretty good at taking.
Commits the Royal Giant again without seeing the Expo. And really, this was Killer Whale's opportunity to make a decision, right? To ensure that he rearranges his card cycle to know that he has the options against the cards that are going to be dropped.
Why not another Expo? Like right now.
So
here's,
It's like you can predict the future.
I definitely cannot. But I think what's going on here is that Killer Whale has opted to go with the lightning strategy. He's not going to use Royal Giant to counter. He's going to use lightning. I don't think that's great. Like, I think he should be better off just putting furnaces down. I wonder if either Killer Whale is not that experienced of a Royal Giant player playing it, sort of picking it up in the last few days, or if he just knows something that we don't know about this matchup.
It's interesting because both cards are flip-flopped, right? You would rather have the Lightning to take down the Inferno Tower and the Royal Giant to take down the Expo, but instead, he's playing the Royal Giant into the Inferno Tower and trying to get away with using Ice Spirit and whatnot, and then playing the Lightning on the Expo, whereas you would really, really, really prefer it to be flipped around.
By putting the Expo on the far right side, that means it's not in lightning range of at least the vulnerable tower, and it allows it to keep shooting without making the tower subject to anything that could hurt it real bad. I'd expect another Inferno Tower to come down pretty soon here, as soon as that Royal Giant crosses the river.
Yeah, there is the Expo, and I think that tower is definitely in Fireball log range, and that's really going to be Trainer Garrett's win condition here.
Wow.
Ice Golem is going to hold up the Mega Minion for just long enough, and sure enough, Trainer Garrett going to roll his way to victory.
There
And
it is.
think
a
about
2-0.
that, because at the end of the last Coronation Day, one of the last things that we said before signing off was, you can absolutely lose to Expo with a Royal Giant deck if you sequence your cards in the wrong way. And I feel like Killer Whale was trying to get away with the lightning and the log, but that's 8 elixir to stop a 6 elixir Expo. I don't think that he should have been that aggressive with the Royal Giant. Royal Giant's not that great on offense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really think that one of the things that Killer Whale had to do at that point is play the long game, right? Don't try to win it 1-0, because at the very least, Trainer Garrett's gonna probably be able to just spell cycle you down, right? Look to trade. Spend health on your tower early on in the match when you know that overtime is a long time away. Spend health on your tower, reorganize your card cycle, make sure you have the game well set up for success. Take down the tower, be okay with the fact that Trainer Garret could take down the second tower, and then just keep playing the game out in one-to-one situations. You have a Royal Giant.
It did seem, though, that like Killer Will was starting to get it, because at the end he was starting to play his Royal Giants a lot for the back, but just a little too late there. And Trainer Garret will be moving on. Let's go ahead and take a look at a replay now from one of our games between these semi-finalists here. Rainey, walk me through what's going on here.
Well, Trainer Garret pretty much walked through this match 2-0, and really it came down to just very good decision making on pushing the golem through, using lightning at key moments, playing good supporting troops and in good positions that they wouldn't all just get taken down by spells and whatnot. And I really think that Trainer Garret just made good decisions and was able to win for it.
I really love that bold expo right there prior to the Royal Giant coming down. He just knew that there's no way his opponent's going to have another...
Choose, who do you think, if you're Boom, which one are you bringing first? Because you, like you said, you have a favorable matchup, and you don't have a favorable matchup.
I still think you always want to try to match up your Expo.
Okay.
I think Expo is a kind of deck that has such a big requirement in terms of you need to make sure that if your opponent has something like a big body that can completely shut down your game plan, you want the assurance. You want the assurance that you have at least one win with it, because then that means you can confidently play your other deck twice, right?
I might open with Royal Giant. It's going to have a decent matchup against either deck, and then of course you still have it in your pocket if you need it for later, and then you can try to gauge what your opponent's playing and decide when to get the Expo in. But I agree, it's crazy how Expo went from such a good deck that everyone was running it to kind of a liability when everyone else is bringing anti-Expo decks.
Yeah, if it doesn't go right. But one thing that we have been seeing is the Expos, when they play it very aggressively, also very defensively. You know, they're not everyone's just playing at the river now. There are actually some people are holding it back. So it's cool to see how that meta not only is now being installed, but then being adapted. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, the finals are about to be underway. It is Trainer Garret versus Boom. Let us know in chat right now who you think is going to be Coronation Day number 5's champion.
Rainey, what do you think?
I have a correction to make from earlier, by the way. Boom is no longer in Hammers Esports, has moved to Crucible Wrath. So it's my bad. Here's the thing, Crucible Wrath, another very strong guild. Could they claim their very first Coronation Day title?
Hey.
We've not yet seen a clan get more than 2.
Interesting to note that making it
Plenty
up to
of
the
time
top
left.
8 for Boom has been a very big back and forth. 67% win rate means that he went one loss very commonly moving up to the round of 8. So maybe his decks are just a little bit, I don't know, maybe there's a weak link there.
You're right. Trainer, maybe it just takes him a little while to get comfortable. He's got to feel out what the opponent's playing and kind of learn from that.
Yeah.
Trainer Garret, though, has very much impressed me. First time in the Coronation Day, has looked like a juggernaut.
Yeah. Look at that trophy count, by the way.
Well, here we go. We've got Golem versus Royal Giant in game 1. And just like that, Golem comes down, Royal Giant comes out to play.
Takes down the furnace in one shot. The archers actually lock onto the Mega Minion, which is exactly what Trainer Garret wants. And that's actually one of the big things about Royal Giant that's tough to manage. Because it has such a large range, it does not walk in front and provide that tanking body for supporting troops behind it. Inferno Tower, burning away the Golem. Easy. The archers actually convert and do a ton of damage, and that tower is on the guard.
What?
This archer is Legolas right here.
Legolas, guys.
Archer
Ladies and
is
gentlemen.
actually an action hero.
Trainer Garret actually now has a 3 elixir advantage. He's going to leverage that into an almost free furnace. Still maintaining a little bit of a lead. The problem is, how are you going to play that Golem and not just completely get wrecked by the Royal Giant? By playing it up that far, if the Royal Giant were to come down that same lane, all of the defending troops could then back up the Golem. I think this is a smart lane switch by Boom to perpetually force his opponent to play both lanes at the same time.
I really think that Trainer Garret, the option to go for was to, okay, Lightning actually supporting the Golem, and this might be a big thing for Trainer Garret. Even though the Mini P.E.K.K.A. is on the Golem, it's going to split and get the Golemites, and I think the Mega Minion might be killing it in time. The Mini P.E.K.K.A. gets one more swing, but look at that push.
Whoa.
Look at that push. The Golemite is still alive in the back. Mega Minion gets taken down, and that's one big damage source, but guards are not to be laughed at.
Not at all. Trainer Garret back up to 10 elixir, waiting for this inevitable push. Now watch this Royal Giant magic. He's holding one cannonball, yet he fires it, and he has another cannonball.
Where does it? Wait a minute.
Pretty incredible card.
He's gotten some training by the wizard.
There's not a lot about the Royal Giant that makes sense aesthetically.
No way.
He makes so much sense.
He's got a crown.
He's the best.
Wow.
It's a beard.
You know what's crazy about that? Boom did so much
damage.
More total damage
across both.
But Trainer Garret only had that one successful push, and that was all he needed.
Yeah.
He was really smart. Well, okay, Boom was trying to switch lanes and kind of perpetually force his opponent to go the other way, but he forgot the key rule. Which hit point matters the most?
It's the last one.
It's the last hit point. He let one tower go to 0 while his other opponent had, took 4,000 total damage? Wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It's all got to be on one tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Splitting can be dangerous in those keys, which is something that if you're playing on the ladder, does it really come down to like the deck that you're bringing? Because that happens to me, I feel like a lot. Well, I'm like, okay, I'm getting a lot of damage on this side. All right, I have a sweet opening. I'm gonna switch to this side. A lot of damage, but I can't quite finish out the final one.
I think there's a very interesting dynamic to look at here in terms of decks that are quicker to knock a tower down, decks that move fast, and decks that are big and weighty, right? Earlier on in this tournament, we actually saw that Royal Giant could overcome these big decks like Golem, just in the sense where they wait until overtime and they make sure they've coordinated such that they have a ton of elixir to drop, a ton of units to support their Royal Giant, and just take that tower down immediately once the Golem is dropped. But in this situation, I think that the situation wasn't quite as clear, right? I think that the Golem play had been set up such that there would be enough troops pushing across and with enough time that they could push through and do more just in case, and I think that was a brilliant choice. I think the Royal Giant player could have been more successful focusing more elixir on defense, even giving up a Royal Giant play, holding a Royal Giant play for one and focusing on defense to counteract the last Golem play before overtime, and then all in overtime to ensure that there was no chance for comeback.
Yeah, let me give you an alternative thing he could have done. When that Golem came down in front of the tower, instead of playing Royal Giant on the left side, could have played Royal Giant on the right side. Now, of course, your opponent's going to drop things like archers in front of the tower to shoot the Royal Giant. Just fireball them, right? Just get them off the board there, and that way the Royal Giant and Fireball would have maybe taken that tower down, and even if you lose the tower to the Golem, to your point, you're playing 1-on-1 at that point. It's much better.
All right, well, Trainer Garret is up 1-0. Again, this is the best of 5 here in the finals. Trainer Garret has to win 3. Let's see if he's going to switch decks or stay with the 1.
And Trainer Garret, maybe with the highest trophy count we've seen out of anyone in these Coronation days.
So many.
I mean, that's easily in the top 200 on the
Some of your
leaderboard.
trophies.
Yeah, just quit being greedy with trophies.
Oh,
I need some of
interestingly enough, I think that Mini P.E.K.K.A was hurt by the zap. The tower was shooting the Royal Giant. Boom zapped the tower and it retargeted onto the Mini P.E.K.K.A. And it wasn't such a happy P.E.K.K.A anymore.
This is very impressive. Oh, actually, great timing by Garret to get the Golem down when he knows Royal Giant's not out, but great cycle by Boom. Look at that. Look, Boom's only played 5 cards.
He already got back to it.
Of which 3 of them cost 2 or less. So he was able to really get back there at the critical moment in order to continue the offense.
I actually think the timing suits Trainer Garret pretty well right now, because if he can build up a big enough push behind that Royal Giant that actually does not contribute to killing any troops of its own, there might be a big counter push coming down the lane for Boom to deal with. But so far his defense seems to be pretty solid. Good positioning on the Inferno Tower.
The downside for Garret is he used Zap on the Mega Minion, didn't have Zap available for the Inferno Tower that came right after.
Oh, the skeleton survived the mini explosions.
Speaking of wet noodle damage,
Golemites. So does the Golem and Golemites do the same death damage, or is the Golem?
No, the Golem
less?
does significantly more than Golemites. Golem's explosion will kill goblins, skeletons. The Golemites don't even kill skeletons.
Poor little guys.
But it's added, every little damage bit counts. As you see, Boom's making the same, he's doing the same line of play as before, splitting the damage up, trying to get as much as possible on both damage. I don't think he'll make the same mistake about leaving a tower unfinished, but that's how Trainer Garret took game 1.
Now, what's the final card in Trainer Garret's deck?
I should see both of their final cards. Give me 1 second.
Fireball.
Oh, so there's Fireball
Lightning
for Boom.
for Trainer Garret.
Fireball for Boom.
You're right.
All right, Royal Giant coming down the same lane, so that probably is going to finish up the tower. With Furnace out of hand, I think that Boom should be able to tag on Ice Spirit, and a lot of damage to the guards, and it actually does not take the tower down, so that's Elixir that needs to be invested. Not the worst in the world, because a Fireball will actually take down that tower. So
he's defensively.
There's 24 seconds to get back to that Fireball, too.
And actually, defense for Boom has gone relatively well. Big lightning. This actually could get pretty scary. You need to cycle spells, and I think Boom has it.
Ooh. I believe so. I think Trainer Garret realized this game's out of ring. Again, not a very fast deck. There is no all-in in Trainer Garrett's deck. If he had to go and aggressively take that tower right now, what is he doing? You know, he could, guards plus archers? You know what I mean? Like, every deck in Clash Royale could stop a push that week. But Boom ties it up 1-1.
That's right.
Impressive.
Now, did Garret switch decks there? Or did he use the same one?
No, he played the golem deck again.
Okay.
So now, with each of their decks having one win, we're going into what is essentially a best of three
now.
starting now. They have to use each of their decks, win one more time with each. Great opening start. They got to feel each other out, kind of see how the decks are going to interact. But now are the elimination rounds. This is the championship rounds of a fight.
Here we go.
The finals, $2,000 on the line.
So how important is it to cycle with a Royal Giant deck? You saw he got that Giant out there so fast again.
I don't think it's so much that you don't want to cycle it like a Hog Rider. So when you have a Hog Rider deck, you almost always want to be casting Hog Riders to attack. But there's a lot of situations where you cast a Royal Giant and you just get punked out. Like, for example, when the Guards, Archers, and Ice Spirit right there at the end allowed the Royal Giant to only get one attack. That's 6 Elixir to do 180 damage. Who cares, right? Like, that's such a bad exchange of Elixir for damage. But the important thing about cycling in a Royal Giant deck is to have the Royal Giant when you need it. And he needed it every time a Golem came down, and that's when he was able to go, oh no, there's the Golem, Skeletons, Ice Spirit. I drew my Royal Giant again, put him on the field. Right.
All right, now one thing I want to talk about too, I think this will be the final thing about the updates that are coming out on the first. We've got Rage getting increased, but Ice Spirit, slow going from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Do you think that's going to change how we see it?
I think that the Ice Spirit will still be key in mirror matchups and cards. For example, one big interaction we see is Mega Minion on Mega Minion, and one of the ways that players try to win out that trade is by playing the Ice Spirit. And the fact that it'll just slow down the attack means that the mirror card will always win if it's fighting a frozen card. But other than that, it is interesting. Will it make a Hog Rider get one less swing, for example? Those are questions that I don't know the answer to.
Garret just started with one of the best opening Elixir trades you could hope for. There was 8 Elixir played in that push for Booms. It was a Mini P.E.K.K.A, a Mega Minion, and an Ice Spirit, and it was countered just for 3 Elixir by guards. That's allowing this Golem push to be very scary coming in. It's going to do a good amount of damage here.
Boom also had to spend Ice Spirit and Zap to stop the Archers from doing a huge amount of damage. And that could have changed the push from doing 600 to doing 800 or maybe 1,000.
Look at that. So right now, Trainer Garret finds himself behind by about 3 Elixir, but he does have a Furnace on the board chipping away at some damage, and of course has a huge damage lead right now. With that building about to expire, and the reason why it was fireballs, get damage on the tower, but also the building's about to go away, so now, what's going to stop this Royal Giant?
Uses a lot of small troops to assist the push as well, right when the Fire Spirits are pushed off the table, and so he gets a pretty good Royal Giant push. But this also opens up the opportunity. Actually, I don't know how fast the cycle is. I would say that Trainer Garret would have an opportunity to drop a Golem, but I think that Boom has it in hand again.
Boom could probably get back to it with an Ice Spirit, I think. Yep, got him. So here's the problem. Never underestimate little skeletons. And if you notice, those 1 Elixir skeletons in the last push did a lot of damage to the guards. They killed up a lot of the chumpy troops around the Royal Giant and prevented the counterattack from being that effective. Trainer Garret really needs to take some serious damage home with this push because he's not getting very great counterattacks on the Royal Giant.
Make sure the Archers are cleared out before he plays the Inferno Tower, but a Lightning will actually put a wrench in all of that system. Meanwhile, Mega Minion is actually wrecking havoc, and guards will actually protect the Mega Minion from other drops. There we see the Mega Minion drop on the floor, but is attracted by the Golemites and the guards, and I think this is a tower for Garret.
It's a reminder of Game 1 right there, where it looked like Boom was in control with his Royal Giants, but that Golem push was just too overwhelming.
Interesting choice to drop the Golem. I would expect the Furnace drop would be ideal, and actually does get it.
Get out of here, Royal Giant.
That is just kind of buying time in a way you wouldn't expect. The Golem is pushing the Royal Giant out of the lane, buying a lot of time for extra damage to come down.
Is there going to be a lightning spent on the Inferno Tower? And I don't think that's even really that necessary. Trainer Garret is just going to weather out the storm and take a second win with the Golem deck.
Bigger, faster, stronger. That is Golem. If you thought Giants were cool, you know what's even cooler? Golems.
There we go. Trainer Garret picking up his second victory here in our best of 3 for the finals. 1 game away from $2,000 and that ticket to move on.
We're not out of the woods yet, though.
Not even
because
But
close.
that Golem deck's out now.
Golem deck is out, and that leaves an Expo deck. The bane of everyone's existence,
Royal
except
Giant.
for Boom has a Royal Giant and then another Expo deck. I think Boom has to bring his Royal Giant if he wants to go to a Game 5.
Yeah.
Sure. Or unless he just wants to out-chess. He wants to out-chess him. Right?
That's a good point, because if you're going to have to win the Expo
Anyway.
Mirror match, and if you win that Expo Mirror match, you go into a critical Game 5 with one of the most favorable matchups out there.
Yeah. Because I think it comes down to how much do you think in this moment right now these players can put each other on tilt? Like, let's say it's like just how much do you think pressure is going to affect these guys?
It depends, right? If you are the player who is two matches up, you might be feeling nervous because you're about to close out the whole thing, right?
Sure.
You start, regurgitating your mother's pasta. You start,
Mom spaghetti?
your hands start getting
Never
sweaty.
thought about that.
Yuck.
Thanks for the visual there.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's serious, right? When you're about to win, and this is probably one of the biggest causes for Silver Surfer's existence is, right? They play really well, but they get to the end and they just can't really close it out because they realize that the win is just right there, right? Just one more.
Is that a new term? I call them bridesmaids, and you said Silver Surfers, people
Silver
finish
Surfer.
second?
Yeah,
I like
let's
that.
finish
So here's the
second.
thing, whatever game it is, whether game 4 or 5, the critical game is going to be Boom's Expo versus Trainer Garret's Expo. Whichever match that happens in will probably determine the match.
All right.
What are you calling?
Expo is such a different deck.
Boom has a very different Expo deck than we've seen before. We don't see a lot of them running Skeletons, Fire Spirits, Ice. It's a very, very cheap one. It also has Rocket. So he can always rocket the enemy Expos if it comes down to it.
I like Rocket just as kind of I don't know what the term is, but just as like a very, very nice little safety net of like, okay, I've worked hard for the whole match, and now we're in areas where I can avoids the Ice Golem, because before we saw a situation where the Ice Golem protected the Expo and actually lost the game for, I think it was no, it was
I love
not.
how he has that
Boom?
vibe.
Was it Boom who lost the game for using the rocket on the Ice Golem?
I'm not even sure, but you're right. We've already seen the Ice Golem shield, invulnerability shield, decide a game in this matchup, and Boom does not want that to happen in the finals with $2,000 on the table.
Oh, good timing. Watch, this Mega Minion is actually going to win out this trade because the Ice Spirit is going to help it
Already back
win. Yeah, that's big damage.
Boom's trademark here is that both of his decks are running Skeletons and Ice Spirit. He really likes that cheap cycle to get back to the cards he needs. And on top of that, they both run Zap, or one runs Zap, one runs Log, so a 2-cost spell. And his Expo deck also has Fire Spirit, so all of Boom's decks very, very based on a quick cycle.
I would say that Boom needs to play chumpy troops like the Skeleton or the Ice Spirit or the Fire Spirit in combination with his Rocket on top of Expos to make sure that he doesn't take chipping damage from the remaining little bit of health that the Expo has, because he's not actually making headway on his opponent's tower, even though he is mitigating damage on the Expo.
Trainer Garret, I mean, super impressive right now. This is the Expo Mirror match. This is the game that's going to decide it right now. Boom has not even had a chance to play an Expo. He's just had to rocket it. And to your point, that trade, it's a 6 for 6, rocket the Expo. Well, he's eating about 200 damage on the chin every time he does it, so it's not as even as you might think it would be.
And, really to put it in context, it gets even more amazing to think about how Ender actually won this matchup with using Rocket and Fire Spirit as a defense. We can already see how complicated it is to set up your line of play. And first Expo from Boom coming out now.
Well, it just takes one.
And I think we're showing how you can't say enough about Ice Golem in this mirror match. We watched it in the Marcel P. Ender match as well. Just if you ever get a chance to put the Ice Golem in front, it's one of the best things you can use to block an Expo.
tries to play the skeletons, but too late. And I think it's that slight difference in execution that's really going to keep Boom in this match. He did play a good Expo for his first Expo dropped, and I think he's going to be able to replicate that now in double elixir time. He's going to be able to cycle his Expo pretty fast, but it all comes down to whether he actually wants to handle this push first, or...
Yeah, I'm not convinced actually that Rocket's such a great answer to Expo. You know what I mean? It's Trainer Garret is happy to make that trade over and over and over again.
Let's just keep going. I'll win.
And it's crazy is they both have Inferno Tower, but he's opting to use the Rocket instead of the Inferno Tower because when you play the Inferno Tower down, you start to get into that mix of like, oh, well, he could put guards in front, he could put minions, skeletons. There's a lot of things that each could put in the way.
I actually think this is the better answer. Have your Expo with the opponent's Expo and then decide to rocket after you've traded out. Because then you have an opportunity for counterattack. And I think that that's going to be the big thing that changes the game for Boom. Now, we do have to realize that Trainer Garret at least has not shown, but there's not been a single spell played on Trainer Garret's side. And I think if you play solidly, you can definitely still come back from this.
And it's worth mentioning that actually, as much as we've been kind of bagging on Boom not getting a lot of damage on there, he actually has gotten a decent amount, and he's only 2 rockets away from winning.
Every single Expo that Boom has played has actually been relatively effective, much more effective than the Expos that Trainer Garret has been playing, especially because Boom has been trading with the Rocket. It comes down to execution, and this actually might be the nail in the coffin, because remember, Crossbow means that he has less of a journey to make, and he's within the kill zone. I think Rocket is in...
Wow! There it is, though.
How
Trainer
frustrating is
Garret
that?
going up 3-1 against Boom. Congratulations. He is our Coronation Day number 5 champion.
It's so important. Tower health is what wins you matches, right? Because you can play whatever sick plays you want. You can 360 no scope, 520 mini P.E.K.K.A, monitor off.
Can someone do this?
Multi-kill.
I've never seen that play.
You know, you can do whatever big plays you want, but at the end of the day, if you do not maintain your tower health, you lose, and that's exactly what happened to Boom. Every single time the Expo came up, Boom was not making sure that he had a troop on the field, even if it's playing skeletons on the other side of the map.
Just to distract.
Just to distract the Expo. You know that the Rocket isn't enough to clear out the Expo in one go, so just play something to make sure that you're maintaining your tower health.
All right.
Let's take a look at the replay from this
The
amazing
finals.
final match.
Yeah, we see Trainer Garret fighting against a Royal Giant drop on the left side, and I really think that this was a good choice for Trainer Garret to put minimal defense for the Golem and then invest all the rest of his elixir into using Lightning, Mega Minion, and pushing archers onto the other side of the field, gets a tower, and that really, I think that decision-making is what makes or breaks kind of a champion in this tournament scene.
Yeah, Trainer Garret is a hero to all tank-pushing players out there because he's had a few golems that didn't do much and it looked like he was really far behind, but what he was really doing was learning. He was watching what his opponent was going to do. He was planning out the perfect sequence of cards for that one critical attack to win. And in multiple games throughout this top 8, we saw him come from behind with just one critical golem push to win the game.
Now, talking about Rocket and Fireball, Rocket's slower traveling than Fireball, correct?
Is that what did it?
Yeah.
Rocket's definitely slower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think really even though we saw those final spells end the game, what really won the game was Trainer Garret continuing to put out Expo and Boom just kept rocking it.
Yeah.
He changed his line of play, but it was too late. It was too late. He had already taken 1,500 or more damage by the time he said, this isn't working. We got to switch it up. If he had switched it up maybe earlier, who knows?
Yeah, all right. Well, let's take a look at now the bracket finally for a quick recap of the day. Rumham, Rainey, walk us through the journey.
It was crazy to start. I mean, we saw so many different
It's like
decks.
2-0s.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
show
2-0s
it
and a lot of
fast.
different decks. We've had Lava Hound, we've had Inferno Dragon, but again, the story is those decks don't make it to the finals. And really, it's about Royal Giant, it's about Expo, and I still can't believe, Rumham, tell me if I'm crazy, but I still can't believe people are playing Expo. Why?
Well, maybe they've been put on notice now. Expo, very strong deck. Probably the strongest one-dimensional deck in the entire game right now. It only does one thing, but when it does its one thing, it's better than any other deck out there.
Yeah.
But people have been bringing decks now that are not going to let Expo do its thing. From Giant Bowler to Golem Furnace to Royal Giant decks, everyone is packing at least something to stop Expo from beating you. So you either need to evolve your Expo deck to beat these sort of decks, or find something new. What beats Golem Furnace? What beats Giant Bowler without being vulnerable necessarily to Expo? Maybe balloon decks? Maybe
that'd be
a new
interesting.
type of Lava Hound? We'll have to see.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, not only is our winner taking home $2,000
$2,000.
and a chance to go to the Crown Duels, which
That's right.
he could end up winning $15,000
Garret
at
could be
the
the
end
guy.
of all of this. Trainer Garret will be remembered throughout Clash history because of his epic wins today. So if you want to be like Trainer Garret, go on to ClashRoyaleOpen.com where you can sign up for our next duels tomorrow.
That's right. That's right. Again,
Right
our
here.
next we broadcast every Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So our next broadcast is going to be tomorrow, Halloween.
Don't get spooky.
Bring some graveyards,
That's right.
you spooky
Yeah,
players.
come on. I want to see a great.
I wanna see it.
I was so pumped. You asked me. I was like, how many graveyards? I'm
All
like,
of them.
everyone.
No.
Everyone's
Yeah,
running
I
graveyards
thought so
today.
too. I mean, there were players in the elimination round running double graveyard, so if they get a little bit more
Come back
skilled with their
tomorrow.
deck or a little bit more lucky, we
It's
might be
new,
seeing
it's
some
new.
graveyard
Yeah.
tomorrow. I hope so. For Halloween, I can't imagine a better deck to win.
We should. I mean,
yeah.
we can't do this technically or legally, but we should have made it like a you have to.
Requirement for tomorrow.
If you sign up for tomorrow, you have to run graveyard.
Unofficially.
That's not it though. So again, go over to the website so you guys can sign up. We now have 11 more of these to go, so you have 11 more chances to making it here to the Clash Royale North American Opens, where you could be taking home $2,000 and also a chance to move on to the Crown Duels. Before we go, guys, any final words, any final thoughts for the day, or encouragement to anyone out there?
I think Trainer Garret played really, really well.
Yeah.
I think just solid, good decision making.
Golem killing it.
Golem's
that
been
was his
coming.
card.
I predict Golem Mania is going to be running wild up and down the ladder.
Can't wait to see all those Golem and Golem mites. Well, everyone, on behalf of everyone here at the official Supercell Clash Royale North American Opens, broadcasted out of NGE Studios here in Burbank, California, that is Rum Ham and Rainey.
I'm Ella.
I'm Christian.
And have a most ridiculous night.
Thank you. Man, Ice Golem is getting a bump.
Getting better. Yeah.
He's getting
Ice
better.
Golem is so gone.
True story. It could get worse. I mean, like, I don't think it needed to get better. It could have gotten worse.
It's killing.